Yeah, so welcome guys to another video, and today we're going to be looking at and we're going to manipulate the curtain wall and see what it holds for us and how we can actually use it creatively and how the settings are. So for us to have a reference, I just wanted us to have a design a building first, just so basic curtain wall building, and then you can maybe look for something in the internet to see if you can achieve it. So I'll make sure it touches one of the most fundamental parts of the curtain wall tool, and hope you're going to enjoy this. So to make a curtain wall, I want to make a building that has both the normal curtain wall and a bit more complex one. So let me just first draw a slab. This one should be concrete, and let me make sure it's concrete. It's just going to be a first thing. So concrete. Then I'm going to make it 300 maybe. Yeah, so with that done, I'm going to draw my slab. Maybe there 10 by 10 by 10. I'm going to enter my slab, and then I'm going to draw my first curtain wall, which is going to be the one for the ground floor, which I'm going to make it to be normal, just a normal curtain wall. Let me Control Z, then I'm going to make sure it's in the independent nodes option. So I'm just going to draw it there, draw it there, and then draw it here and here. Yeah, so with that done, now we have our first curtain wall. Yes, I'm just gonna drag it to make sure it's in the center of everything. Yes, so with that done, now we have our first curtain wall here. We're sure, let me just go back here. Now we have our first curtain wall. I'm just going to make another floor above it and then make another complex curtain wall on it. So I'm just gonna take my slab tool again, and then I'm going to the story one. I'm going to trace like we did, and then I'm going to draw another slab that is on top of this one, and then I'm going to draw another curtain wall that I think is going to be a bit taller. Let me just make sure we draw it well. So let me just draw it like this. Yes, something, yeah, like that, and then yes, so that done. We have our curtain wall, and you can see it looks something like this. So to make sure it becomes more tall, I'm just going to select this one, and then I'm going to drag and extend it upwards to maybe a height that is a bit more interesting, maybe somewhere here. Yes, with that done, now I can just put a slab that is going to act like the roof for my curtain wall. So let the thing to, yeah, so that's what I'm talking about. So for the ground floor, I'm just going to make a normal curtain wall. This is going to be made of glass. Then the one on top, I'm going to make sure it has some aspects of complex panels that I'm going to take from the internet. So that said, I may just make the roof for this one, and we start off. So yeah, so with that done, I'm just going to what's the one that I've drawn just now. Just draw the next one. Let me just drag it somewhere here from here. So Control Shift D, and then I'm going to drag an option up to the roof to become the roof of my hypothetical building. So that done, now we have our reference file. So first of all, I'm just going to explore the basic fundamentals on the ground floor with this curtain wall, and then you're going to go to a more complex approach on the upper one. So let's just go to the curtain wall settings, and here we'll have the different options for the curtain wall, which are the schemes, frames, panels, junctions, and accessories. So most of the most important settings here are the schemes, frames, and the panels. The junctions, and accessories I usually use the default Arhicad settings. So let's start with the schemes. So for the schemes, we have different schemes options. For example, if you press scheme and go upwards here, there are different scheme options that you can actually choose from. So for example, this is the normal checkered board, which is the normal box one. You can have an empty scheme, you can have an hexagonal one, you can have this honeycomb, you can have this. All these options usually depend on how you want your design to come out. This is a random frame. Like for example, if I apply the random frame, you see it, you can now just design your frame the way you want it. Yeah, you can just make sure each point has its own different measurements. So for me, I want to use the normal one, which is this one, the checkered board, and I'm going to apply it. Yeah, to fix it, I'm just going to make sure each and make it box like this. So I'm going to, actually it has already done it for me. If I reapply it, just makes the normal checkerboard. So it consists of main panels and distinct panels. So if you want all of it to be distinct panels, you can actually put them distinct, but if you want all of it to be main, you can put all of them to be main. So for example, I want this one to be main and then this one to be distinct. So with that said, now with the measurements at a meter and a meter, it's okay. So actually let me make them 900 so that they can be a bit more to scale or to things that you can see. So 900, because that's what I usually use for my curtain wall. So yes, so with that done, now we have our curtain wall ready for applying of the panels. Let's go to the frames now. The frames, it consists mostly of the corner frames, boundary frames, mullion frames, which are then transform frames. Transform frames are these ones that actually make the rows and columns. So then the mullion frames, you can see the boundary frame is the one that actually makes the whole wall. And this is what it's showing there. The corner frames are what is actually here. So for the boundary frames, let me just make them a little bit smaller because this is just too big. 300 millimeters is just big for a curtain wall. Let me make it like 100 so that it can be actually something that you can see is a curtain wall. Yeah, so for the transform frame, we do the same. 190 is just too big for them. Let me make them 80. So that done, transform frame are actually these boundary frames here. Yeah, so with that done now, I can go to the panels now. For the panels, you consist of the distinct panel and the main panel, like I told you before. And here you can actually change what composes these panels using these settings over here. So for example, if you want different types of panels here, there's a custom panel which we are going to make this one, the default one, and then these other options. So this is where we're going to use mainly if we are going to make our own custom panel. So for the materials, you're going to have here, when you select the main panels, you see it's already selected here. You can actually change the materials maybe to glass, and maybe if you want them to be wooden or something like that, or maybe some sun shading, then you can override the surfaces by opening these three settings to be on. So with that said, let's make them glass, and let me make them glass blue. And if you want to change the ones for the distinct panel, you just select the distinct panels and you can see they'll be highlighted. I can change it to glass too, and I'm going to make it a different kind of glass. So let's just going to make it maybe clear first, and then we make them universal for them all. So you can see this is the basic settings for playing around with your curtain wall, and let's just see what it has done to our model here. So let's just wait for that. So you see what I've done, it has made our model look more checkered and just a normal curtain wall with the normal settings without adding anything crazy onto it. You just see we have a normal design for our curtain wall. So that's the basic settings for our curtain wall, and you as the designer can manipulate it the way you want in your settings for the curtain wall. So for this upper one here, I want to make it a bit more crazy. I want to make it something like this. I found this from the internet, and I want to make it something, if it's not something like this, something closer to this. But I guarantee you'll have the taste of how and have the view of how you can make this. So let's go to back to our curtain wall, and then let me first go to the ground floor. hot the story one. And first of all, I'm going to draw an elevation before it using my viewpoint tool. I'm going to draw this. I drew this elevation, and then I'm going to open it so that I can able to manipulate it while it's in the elevations too. So yeah, you can see this is what is present now. So I'm going to just select the upper curtain wall. Then I'm going to the settings. I want to make it more basic. First, I'm going to make it basic, and then I'm going to manipulate its panels so that I can have a finish like this. Yeah, so let's just go and make it basic using our scheme. We go back to the scheme, make everything 900 to make it more square like. Yeah, so 900, and then this one is the last one, 900. Yes, so can actually have something like this. So with that said, now we can make them main panels and distinct panels to be alternating. So I'm going to make this one to be a distinct panel. You can just change it by clicking here and choosing its type that you want to be, then clicking here maybe and choose the type that you want it to be. So you see this one is going to be distinct. Let me just change it to main. You can see this is a main panel, it's a main panel, and then they're just alternating. And these are distinct panels too. So with that said, you can now go back to frames and make them also the way that you want them, a bit thinner. And for the medium frames, let's make them 100. So that said, now we have our basic settings before we continue into something crazy of our panel. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make my custom curtain wall panel that I'm going to now apply to my curtain wall. So let's wait for it to apply the settings first. Yeah, and you see it's just a normal grid. Now to make my own custom curtain wall, I want to first highlight the size of the panels, and then I'm going to draw my own one. So first of all, let me just use something that is visible like this blue. Then I'm going to use my line tool and highlight the curtain wall panel that I want to use as my boundary. So I'm going to select it, and then I'm going to click the line tool, and then I'm going to copy, and then we go to the ground floor, and I'm going to paste it here. So yes, so with that done, you can see it appears here. I'm just going to press OK and then drag it somewhere where I can now manipulate it. So with that seen, now we have our boundary where we can now draw our own panel. Yeah, so that if you want it just to be glass like the one for the bottom one, you just make it glass without drawing it. You just use the basic settings. But now I want to make something like this. Yeah, I want to make these ones to be my panels. These different shapes that have different colors. So I'm going to here, I'm going to use my line tool, and I'm just going to draw this shape like the way it is on the picture. So first of all, I'm just make sure, let's go to the center there, and then somewhere here, just make sure it is, first of all, it looks like this shape before you continue. See, I'm using the curtain wall boundaries so that I can have a panel that actually fits where I'm going to place it. You see something like this. So with that done, now we have our reference that I've drawn with the line tool. So I'm going to use the slab tool because I normally like using my slab tool to manipulate this type of things. So you can actually use different tools like the roof tool to make the same thing, but I'm going to use the slab tool. So I'm going to select the slab tool, and then I'm going to magic wand it on this shape here. So as you can see, it has magic wand the shape. I'm just going to manipulate it the way I want it to be. It's almost the same as what you want in the, let me first delete the line tool. And I'm now going to manipulate the slab the way I want it to be. And I'm just going to make it a bit there. Yeah, so then this one a bit bigger. Yeah, so let me just make it within the boundary. So yeah, so with that done, now we can actually we have to drag a copy. we have to rotate a copy that is actually upside down, like the ones you have seen in the picture. And then I'm going to Control D to somewhere here. Yes, so we have these two copies here. So with that said, now we have this type of thing that is forming. You see there's some that are upright and then there are some that are upside down, and they're of different colors. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change and manipulate the color for each of these panels so that I'm able to have the effect that I want. So with that done, yes, so let me now drag, make sure it's okay, make sure it's just right. Yes, so I'm just going to rotate a copy of this, yeah, an upright rotation, and then I'm going to drag it to be just next to this one. Yeah, so now we have these two options that are almost forming our curtain wall references and panels. So for the first one, I want it to be red, like the color, I want it to be red, and then the next one is going to be white. So I'm just going to select this one. Make sure it's some material that you want, maybe aluminium, and then the thickness is realistic, like let's say 100. Yeah, with that said, I'm just going to apply it to the next one and inject it on this one. So now I'm just going to select this one and change its color using the surface overrides here. So make sure it's paint red. Any red paint, just choose the one that you want, maybe this one. Then I'm going to make sure it's okay with everything. So the next one, I'm going to choose it and then override it to be white paint. So let me make it glossy white, and then I'm going to apply it to everything. So with that done, now we have our two panels. You can see in 3D. Let me show you in 3D how they look like. Yes, so in 3D, you'll see there are just some white and red shapes. So I'm just going to highlight them and override make sure the overrides are black. I don't want them to be this color. I just want them to be black so that they can become more conspicuous, you can see. Yeah, so I'm just going to go back to the ground floor and save these ones. Going to the file, library objects, and then save selection as, and then I'm going to save them as curtain wall panels. Yeah, I'm going to save this one as curtain wall P, panel 1. Let me call it curtain wall P1. And then I'm going to save this one. Yes, and then the next one I'm going to save it as curtain wall P2. So let's go to libraries and objects, save and selection. Let's go panels, curtain wall P2. Yeah, so with that done, let me save. Yeah, press OK. Now with that done, we can now go back to our curtain wall, the one that we had, the basic things, and then go to the settings, and then go to the panels. Yeah, with the panel selected, now we can now manipulate and put our own custom panels by coming to here. For example, for the distinct panel, we come to here, this arrow here, then you choose the custom panel 26 here. Yeah, and then with that selected, you come back to your curtain wall panel settings, and then change the panel name to what we made, curtain wall P1, and then and then that's done. And then you go to the main panel, do the same, change it to custom panel 26, and then come to the panel settings and change it to the one that we made, the second one, P2. Yeah, with that done, now I can just press OK, and let's see what happens. So with that done, let me now go to my 3D. Actually, I selected the wrong one, so let me just Control Z everything. Yeah, let's go to story 1 and do what we've just done. So story 1, go to panel, make it custom. Also this one, make it custom too. And then we can now change them to the ones that we made. and then this one, the ones that we made, the second one, so this one. So let's say we can now press OK, and let's see what happens to our curtain hole. So you can see it just makes the panels, and then go to the 3D. You can see this is what happens for my building. It becomes more interesting. See, yeah. So this is what I was saying, and you can actually do the same and make your own panel. Anything that you see in the internet that is interesting, you can just try it out and explore on how you can make your own custom panels. So yeah, so thanks for watching. That's the basics of the curtain hole tool. So yeah, thanks.